What if the biggest difference between success and failure is not talent, not luck, not intelligence, but discipline? Most people believe success comes from big moments, from big opportunities, from one life-changing decision, but that is not how it works. Success is built quietly, in small actions, repeated over time, every single day. Most people wait. They wait to feel ready. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect time. But that moment rarely comes, because motivation is temporary. It comes and it goes. One day, you feel unstoppable, focused, driven. You feel like nothing can stop you. But the next day, that feeling disappears, and suddenly, everything feels harder. Simple tasks feel heavy. Small actions feel like a struggle, and your energy drops. That is where most people lose, because they rely on how they feel. Instead of relying on what they must do, they follow emotion instead of discipline. And emotion changes every single day. But discipline stays. It does not care about your mood. It does not care if you feel tired. It does not care if you feel unmotivated. It does not care if you feel distracted. It only cares about one thing: showing up every single day, even when it is hard, even when it is boring, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because that is where most people quit. Not at the beginning, but in the middle, when the excitement fades, when motivation disappears, when progress feels slow, when results are not visible. That is the real test. And that is where discipline wins. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they stop too soon. They start strong. They feel motivated. They take action, but they don't stay consistent. They stop when it gets uncomfortable. They stop when it gets repetitive. They stop when it gets boring. But success is built in those exact moments. The moments when nothing feels exciting, the moments when no one is watching, the moments when progress is invisible. That is where everything is happening. That is where you are being tested. And that is where most people quit. But if you can stay in those moments, if you can continue when it feels slow, if you can push when it feels pointless, then you separate yourself completely. Because very few people can do that. Very few people can stay consistent without seeing results immediately. Because the truth is, consistency is not exciting. It is not fast. It is not dramatic. It is slow. It is repetitive. It is quiet. And that is exactly why most people avoid it. Because they are always looking for something new, something different, something that feels good. But real growth does not feel exciting every day. Most days, it feels normal. Sometimes, it even feels boring. And that is where discipline is built. In those ordinary moments, in those quiet days, in those times when nothing feels special. Because that, and this is the part most people misunderstand. They think success comes from big effort, but it actually comes from small effort, done consistently, every single day, because small actions, repeated over time, become powerful. They compound, they grow, they build results, but only if you stay consistent, only if you keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it, even when it feels slow, even when nothing seems to be changing, because change is happening, you just cannot see it yet. And that is why most people quit too early, because at some point, you stop trying, and you start becoming. You stop forcing yourself to act, and action becomes natural. You stop depending on how you feel, and you start depending on who you are. Because identity is stronger than motivation. And once something becomes part of your identity, you don't question it anymore. You don't delay it anymore. You don't avoid it anymore. You simply do it, without hesitation, without resistance, without excuses. And this is where everything starts to shift, because now you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You are no longer controlled by how you feel. You are controlled by your standards, by your discipline, by your commitment. And that changes everything. Because now, you don't wait. You don't hesitate. You don't overthink. You move, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's difficult, even when it's boring. And that is what separates you from everyone else. But this is also where it gets harder, because the longer you go, the quieter it becomes. No applause, no recognition, no visible results, just you and the work. And that silence, that is what breaks most people, because they start to doubt. They start to question everything. They start to wonder if it is working, if it is worth it, if they should continue. And that is the moment that matters most, because that is the moment that decides everything. And this is where most people stop, not because they can't continue, but because they don't see results yet. And that silence makes them doubt. They start questioning everything. They start losing belief. They start thinking, maybe this is not working. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should try something else. And slowly, they give up. Not all at once, but little by little. But the truth is, that is exactly where they should continue, because results are not always visible immediately. Progress is not always obvious. Growth does not always feel rewarding, but it is happening every single day, every time you show up, every time you continue, every time you refuse to stop. You are building something, even if you cannot see it yet. And that is why discipline matters, because discipline allows you to continue when there is no proof, when there is no reward, when there is no validation. And this is where everything begins to separate, because most people will stop here. Most people will walk away. Most people will give up, not because they are weak, but because they are tired, because they expected faster results, because they expected something different. But the ones who continue, the ones who stay, the ones who refuse to stop, they are the ones who win, not instantly, but eventually, because consistency always pays off, even when it feels slow, even when it feels invisible, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because at some point, something changes. You stop doubting yourself. You stop questioning everything. You stop waiting for perfect conditions, and you start moving anyway. You start acting, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels uncertain, even when you are not fully ready. Because now, you understand something different. You understand that action creates clarity, not waiting, not thinking, but doing. And once you start acting, everything begins to change. Slowly but surely, you build momentum, you build confidence, you build control, because every action reinforces your identity. Every step forward strengthens who you are becoming. And before you realize it, what once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. Because this is where identity takes over. This is where it stops being something you try to do and becomes something you naturally do. You no longer force yourself. You no longer rely on motivation. You no longer wait for the right moment. You act because it is who you are. Because discipline is no longer effort. It is your default. It is your standard. It is your identity. And once it becomes your identity, you stop asking yourself questions. You stop negotiating. You stop delaying. You stop waiting, because action becomes automatic, discipline becomes natural, and consistency becomes effortless. Not because it is easy, but because it is who you are. And this is where the real difference shows, because most people never reach this point. Most people stop before this. Most people give up too early. But the ones who continue, the ones who stay consistent, the ones who refuse to stop, they are the ones who change their lives. Not because they are special, but because they did not quit. And this is where the real difference shows, because most people never reach this point. Most people stop before this. Most people give up too early. But the ones who continue, the ones who stay consistent, the ones who refuse to stop, they are the ones who change their lives. Not because they are special, but because they did not quit. And the truth is, the life you want is not built in one moment. It is built in the choices you repeat every single day, in the actions you take, in the discipline you maintain, in the consistency you commit to. Because over time, those small actions become powerful results. Because in the end, it all comes down to one thing: your ability to continue when most people stop. Your ability to stay focused when everything around you is distracting. Your ability to stay disciplined when you don't feel like it. Because that is where real growth happens. Not in comfort, not in excitement, but in consistency, in repetition, in doing what needs to be done every single day, even when it feels slow, even when it feels boring, even when it feels like nothing is changing, because something is changing. Even if you cannot see it yet, you are changing. Your mindset is changing. Your habits are changing. Your standards are changing. And those changes, they build over time, quietly, slowly, but powerfully. Because every day you show up, you are building discipline. Every time you choose to continue, you are building strength. Every time you refuse to quit, you are becoming different. And that difference is what separates you from everyone else. Because most people stop when it gets uncomfortable. Most people stop when it gets repetitive. Most people stop when it gets boring. But you continue. You push forward. You stay consistent. And that consistency, that is what builds results. That is what builds confidence. That is what builds success. Not instantly, but eventually. Because success is not about speed. It is about consistency. It is about showing up again and again and again until it becomes who you are. And once it becomes who you are, everything changes. And this is where everything becomes clear, because at this point, you understand something most people never do. That success is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Not about doing something once, but about doing it repeatedly, over and over again, until it becomes who you are. Because when something becomes part of your identity, you don't question it anymore. You don't delay it anymore. You don't avoid it anymore. You simply do it. And that is a difference. That is what separates you from who you used to be and who you are becoming. Because now, you are not waiting. You are not hesitating. You are not stopping. You are moving forward, no matter what. And that is what creates real change. Not overnight, but over time. Through discipline, through consistency, through commitment. And that is how your life transforms. And the more you continue, the more it becomes natural, the more it becomes automatic, the more it becomes effortless. Not because it is easy, but because you have done it so many times that it becomes part of you, part of your routine, part of your standard. And once it becomes your standard, and this is where everything truly comes together, because at this point, you are no longer the same person. You think differently, you act differently, you move differently, because discipline has changed you. It has shaped your habits. It has shaped your mindset. It has shaped your identity. And now, you are no longer controlled by distractions. You are no longer controlled by emotions. You are no longer controlled by excuses. You are in control of your actions, of your decisions, of your future. And that is the real power, because once you take control, everything begins to change. Your results improve, your confidence grows, your life transforms, not overnight, but over time, through consistency, through discipline, through commitment. And that is what separates you from everyone else. Not talent, not luck, but your ability to keep going, no matter what. Because in the end, everything comes down to the choices you make every single day. Not the big decisions, but the small ones. The ones no one sees, the ones no one talks about, the ones that feel insignificant. Those are the ones that shape your life. Because every small action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you choose discipline, you are building strength. Every time you choose to continue, you are building momentum. Every time you refuse to quit, you are building a new identity. And that identity is what determines your future. Because once something becomes part of who you are, you don't have to force it anymore. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to question it anymore. You simply act, because it is natural, because it is automatic, because it is who you are. And that is the goal. Not motivation, not temporary energy, but identity. Because motivation fades, energy changes, feelings shift, but identity stays. And when your identity is strong, your actions follow automatically. You don't wait, you don't hesitate, you don't delay, you move, you act, you execute, because that is your standard. And standards, they define everything. They define your habits. They define your results. They define your future. Because you will always act according to your standards, not your goals, not your intentions, but your standards. And if your standard is discipline, then your life will reflect that. If your standard is consistency, then your results will reflect that. And if your standard is growth, then your future will reflect that. But if your standard is comfort, if your standard is delay, if your standard is inconsistency, then your life will reflect that too. So, the real question is, what is your standard? What do you allow? What do you accept? What do you tolerate? Because whatever you tolerate, you will continue. And whatever you continue will shape your life. That is why discipline matters. Because discipline raises your standards. It forces you to act, even when you don't feel like it, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is inconvenient. Because those are the moments that matter most. The moments when you don't feel like it. The moments when it is hard. The moments when it is boring. Those are the moments that define you. Because that is where most people quit. And if you don't quit, if you continue, if you stay consistent, then you separate yourself completely. Because very few people can do that. Very few people can stay disciplined. Very few people can stay consistent. Very few people can continue without immediate reward. And that is why very few people succeed. Not because success is impossible, but because consistency is rare. Discipline is rare. Commitment is rare. But if you can develop it, if you can build it, if you can live it, then your results become inevitable. Not fast, not easy, but inevitable. Because time rewards consistency. Time rewards discipline. Time rewards those who do not stop. And that is the truth most people never realize. They are not far from success. They are just not consistent enough. They are not patient enough. They are not disciplined enough. But you can be different. You can choose to continue. You can choose to stay disciplined. You can choose to raise your standard. And once you do that, everything changes. Slowly, but permanently. Because now, you are no longer chasing success. You are becoming the person who naturally creates it. Now, the choice is yours. You can continue doing what you have always done. You can keep waiting. You can keep delaying. You can keep telling yourself you will start later. Or you can decide right now to take control, to become disciplined, to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, even when it is hard, even when it is boring, because that is where your future is built, not in comfort, but in consistency, not in motivation, but in discipline, not in waiting, but in action, every single day, because your future is created by what you do repeatedly. And if you change your actions, you change your life. So start today, stay disciplined, and become the person who does not stop, no matter what, because everything you want is on the other side of consistency. Your future is watching. Now it is your move. Subscribe to Prime Wealth TV and start building the life you deserve.